I'd like to give some takeaways from this book that I read. It's called The Way Things Are by Lama Nydahl. And actually, he started, you could say, meditation centers after he went to meet some Tibetan lamas in Nepal in 1968. And basically, he was the founder of the Diamond Way Buddhist Karma Kagyu lineage. And actually, this lineage is kind of the center that I've been practicing and learning Buddhism from. This is him at the back, Lama Ole. And he's originally, I believe, from Denmark. And he's still around. He's, I believe, in his mid-80s. And the interesting thing about how I got this book is there was a gentleman who was also attending the class a couple of weeks ago. And basically from the head teacher, he requested this book. And then he turned over to me and he asked, "Have you read this book?" And I said, "I have not read any of these Diamond Way Buddhist books. But I am somewhat curious." And he said, "You know what?" He said to the teacher, "You know what? Please could you just get one more and put it on my account? Because obviously you do need to pay for these books." And he's like, then he takes the book and he gives it to me. And I was like, no, that's really not necessary. And he insisted. He was a very nice gentleman. And even when I insisted that I really didn't have to take it, he was very passionate about me taking this gift. So I'd like to thank him for it. If he ever comes across this video, he knows who he is. And funnily enough, he also said that if you take it, it'll be good karma for me. So that's really fitting for the Buddhist class that we were attending. So some key takeaways. I'd like to discuss 3 key takeaways from this book. The first takeaway is kind of one of the central teachings in this book is the concept of impermanence. And I'd say it's also a very focal concept for the Buddhist philosophy. And Lama Ole basically discusses how in a state of constant change, understanding this reality, the reality of impermanence, can help us move through life and navigate situations and circumstances with greater ease. And this is basically what Buddhism says is the transient nature of things, of perceptions, of thought, of emotions, of feelings, of everything in between. It's all transient, and anything that's transient is subject to suffering but also subject to change. So this is something that us humans would benefit from greatly. When we're going through a good situation, we always know that it'll change. When we go through a bad situation, we always know it'll change, and this is the cyclical nature of all things in life. So he also touches up on the concept of suffering. This is obviously a very big concept in Buddhism because the premise of the religion is to address suffering. And Lama Ole talks about suffering, which is dukkha, how it arises from attachment and desire. And to confront suffering directly, we need to understand its causes, and this will help us work towards reducing suffering. And what will help us work towards reducing suffering, like we said, understanding the causes, but what will get us closer to understanding the causes is the Dharma, which is basically Buddhist teachings. And meditation is also a tool for this, because when we develop awareness, we develop greater understanding of the thoughts and emotions that are being produced in our body, in our minds, and we don't get lost in them, and we allow them to kind of visit us and then leave us and visit us and leave us, and we realize that they're just kind of visitors in our experience of life. So when we also understand the root of suffering, meditation will help us get to understand the cause of suffering. And obviously, once again, we tie that in with the Dharma, which is the Buddhist teachings. And a final lesson is basically the interconnectedness of all beings. He says that as living beings, we are basically separate physical entities, but together we are very much bound by the need for joy and peace, and we all want to avoid suffering. So when we develop love and kindness towards each other, we can reduce not only the suffering of others but also the suffering of ourselves, and this is the ultimate goal. So we are actually very interconnected, and when we approach people and ourselves with compassion, kindness, and understanding, this will help collectively the world go towards the process of staying away from suffering and being closer to the innate joy that's within us all. I'd like to read to you a small section of the book that stood out to me. Liberation appears from removing the illusion of any existing or real self. It is the recognition that there is nothing permanent in the body, only innumerable particles whirling around. The same is true for thoughts, feelings, and mental states of one's consciousness. Although experiences might feel real as they occur, they are actually only constantly changing streams of impressions held together by the illusion of being somehow separate and lasting. If there is no I, then who can be harmed? With the knowledge that there is no real self, one's time as a target is definitely over, since there is no longer anybody to attack.